Well, Kristen, thanks for having me. You have
Absolutely.
built quite an organization for yourself. I'm just curious, how large is the network up to these days?
Oh, gee. Um, Gosh, Peter, do you know?
Yeah, we just did this. I think we sold around 1,700 homes last year. A little more,
It's incredible.
1,750, something like that.
I think everyone on here would be like, man, I'd love to be able to get in that position. And I think in order to do that, you have to go on a lot of appointments with people who are interested in getting into real estate or are currently licensed, want to get better. Lots and lots of meetings, right? And then once you bring them in, you have to have some way to onboard them well, which I believe you have a 66-day program. Kristen, is that correct?
Yes, it's gone through a couple of iterations, but I think we've got it just right now in terms of getting them on board and getting them highly engaged from the start so that they can be as productive as possible. So it took us a while and we had to go through a couple of iterations of it, giving them too much information, not enough information, getting them, how do we pare down the emails and get them onboarded quickly as well. So we went through a lot of different iterations before I think we got it right.
So I think in order to recruit, you have to go on lots of appointments with the right people, and you have to be able to onboard them. So we'll probably talk about the onboarding today, Kristen, with your leadership. And I'll talk about how to get the appointments.
I think it's funny, not funny, but I think like with everything, Frank, when you're trying to attract sellers as a real estate agent, you really have to think through the messaging. What's the message of the moment that's going to get them to raise their hand, right? It's really no different than recruiting agents is really no different. How do you come up with the right system, the right messaging to get people to raise their hand and talk with you versus someone else? And I think more than anything, repackaging what we all know is recruiting, but repackaging it in such a way that it changes their mindset about what they're really applying for and what we're really recruiting to.
You're gonna love what I'm gonna go into, because we're going to turn a little bit of messaging on your head today from what you don't usually see for a recruiting message. And I'm going to show you how we applied that. Oh, this is great. Nice insight, because that's exactly what today is about, what I'm going to share. So
I think, like what Gary says, like with everything, the right message at the right moment, but the path is still the path.
Yeah.
Recruiting,
the principles,
still recruiting.
Yep. Recruiting still recruiting, but what are they going to respond to? So I have that message, and that's why I'll start off here with you guys today. So the promise here today was, how in the world do you write a Facebook ad that people magically reach out to you and say, man, I can't wait to work for you? Would you guys like to know how to do that? I'll show you. Yeah. But what is very important here is I want you to pay attention to the principles behind what I'm showing you and not the exact message. Because the exact message is going to be different for all of you before I show you mine. You may give agents leads, you may not give leads. You may want them to cold call. Maybe there's no cold calling with what you do. Maybe you're an open house team. Maybe it's not an open house team. It just depends upon, everyone kind of has a different offering, if you will, for an agent to join their brokerage or their team, different compensation structures, whatnot. So don't get caught up in that. What I want to show you is the principles of how to take exactly what I'm going to show you today that will work for you. All right. So let's just get started. So I think what I like to do here is my wife, Katie, who has actually worked for Keller Williams. I actually met her at KW Family Reunion in Dallas about 8 years ago, is where I met my wife. And she decided to go back into real estate, but actually on the investment side. So what she wanted to do was kind of go out to maybe maybe more of the below medium price homes. And instead of going out with a message that I'll help you sell your home, or I can find you a buyer for your home, she went out with the message is, I want to make you an offer on your home. That's it. That was basically the shift of essentially an investor versus maybe an agent. So she wanted to build a team. It's like, okay, how are we going to do that? Well, I figured, what do I want the team members to do? And for me, what I want them to do, what Katie wanted them to do, was to bang out tons and tons of cold calls to pre-foreclosures and notice of defaults. I guess that's the same thing. Old expired listings, probate, homes that maybe are on the MLS and not selling because they're an investor special. There's all these different types of lists that you guys may be familiar with. And I wanted people to make cold calls. That's what I wanted. The problem was if I put up a job ad, goes back to messaging, Kristen. Hey, come work here on our team and commission only. And you're going to make a ton of phone calls. And I want you to make like 150 cold calls a day. If I were to write that as an ad on Facebook, no one would apply. And I don't think I would get any opt-ins. So that would be the wrong message. Okay. So what I did, and this is what I've encouraged all you to do, is I repositioned the offer as a free real estate investing mentorship. Got it? You can also call it a free real estate apprenticeship, a scholarship, I've heard. But some path, whether you're licensed or not, I think you should open your mind for taking someone that has the right character traits that isn't licensed and train them up in some way to get licensed. All right, you'll open your pool of talent considerably if that's the case. All right, again, that depends upon your model if you want to do that. And we put together an ad. So let me show you just how this works. I'm going to go through the principles. So I sat down with Katie. I took her through a document that I'm going to take you guys through today, which are called my 20 questions. And the 20 questions are, whenever you have an offer, such as an offer to join your team, or for many of you, it can be a listing presentation, how do you actually write down why in the world anyone would ever want to work for you? So I had to sit down with Katie and figure out, okay, we're going to start this free real estate mentorship, essentially. And I have to write down my recruiting presentation, if you will, on paper, so I don't have to give it over and over and over and over and over again, because I don't have time for that. So we sat down, I used a tool, which I'll go through today, to write this presentation, the written form. And I wrote this very, very long letter, long form copy that spoke to someone who's maybe trying to succeed in real estate. Put that up on a landing page and drove traffic to it. So let me show you how this works. I'll start with the page, and you guys can follow along with me here. Again, this is for my wife. It's for investing. I want you to pay attention to the principles, not the exact message, because we're going to kind of talk with Kristen here as we transition to maybe how you would take these principles and apply them to your recruiting, Kristen. Okay. So I'll put this in the chat for everyone. So I'll put this in everyone here. Here's the link. You guys can check this out. And let me pull up the actual screen. So here's the page. Very simple. In fact, I think this maybe took about 15 minutes to make on a simple landing page builder. I'll make this a little smaller for you guys. How's that? So as you can see, it's not join our team or make a bunch of cold calls on commission only. It's free real estate investor mentorship. Apply now to study with us. You'll learn how to sell homes, and we'll give you some leads. We'll give you back office support, and you get pay you too, which is what you can use if you're a real estate professional. Now, what I want you to see here is when you scroll down, I wrote down. So I imagined that a recruit was in front of me and they said, Frank, what's the deal? I wrote down. And I'll show you the structure of how to write something like this. And somebody would land on this and they would read the whole thing. And you're going to go, I want to say something really quick. Frank, that's too long. No one's going to read all that. You're right. You aren't. You're not the market. The person that's on Facebook or on Craigslist that wants to make a change that headline speaks to will read the entire thing, and I'll prove it to you. All right. So it's the person who's interested. I'll keep scrolling down, and finally apply now. Sound good? Just like that. So how well did a simple page with a long form written recruiting presentation perform? How well did this do? Let's take a look. So you can put this page on anything. Any website builder works just fine. I mean, you have to write this like in Word, and then you put it up on a page. I use a service called Unbounce. There's a whole bunch out there. Let's not worry about that too much, but let me show you the results so far. So we had 600, this is about in the past 30 days. We had 606 visitors and 83 people put their information in that pretty much read that entire thing. And what's really great about this, what I want to show you here, and I don't know if you can maybe see the whole thing. I want to make this a little bit wider. What did I get? I got their first name, their last name, their phone number, their email, their city and state, and then the most exciting part, people wrote me a book on, I asked them, why are you interested in this? And the writing spoke to them so well that they wrote a very long answer to why they were actually interested in this free mentorship. Could you imagine how your life would change if you can go through this writing down your recruiting presentation and having a compelling argument that speaks to someone that has the problem that you solve, and just driving to a page like I showed you right here and having all these types of applicants coming in. Look at that, guys, right? Not one single cold call. Now, all these leads came in. I'll call them leads. And I got overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't call all these. This is a bit much. In addition to that, it wouldn't be good if I or Katie called them because it would ruin our positioning. Like, we're kind of like these mentors and gurus. And if we call leads right away, it usually isn't the best. So what I did, I hired somebody. I'm going to show you the whole process. Went to Upwork.com, which is like a freelancing website where you can hire on-demand talent anywhere. And I actually found the individual. Let me see if I can find him here. Blue. His name is Blue. Hang on. Here he is. Let me see if I can find the original job posting. Here we go. Nope, that's not it. Hang on. Here we go. Perfect. Found him. And let's take a look at, I realized it wouldn't be good if we followed up with the applicants from a positioning standpoint, and I didn't want to do it. So this is what we wrote. Hey, I'm looking to hire a very part-time virtual assistant to work 1 to 2 hours a day, following up with applicants for my real estate mentorship. I run ads on Facebook and Craigslist. We'll get to Craigslist. For people who are interested in learning about real estate investing, apply here. Now, again, don't let investing throw you off. You could use this for real estate residential sales. I'd like you to follow up with the applicants as my assistant to schedule a time for them to speak with me in the evening for 30 minutes on the phone, Monday through Friday, either 8 p.m. or 8:30, because that's when the kids are in bed. So I can do 2 calls a night. You'll also ask them a few intake questions to write the responses down for a quick brief to put in the meeting so I actually know who I'm talking to. That's it. Once you schedule their phone appointment with me, I just ask you call and confirm the day before and call and confirm, before the meeting. And I also like you to follow up with them after I meet with them to ask how the meeting went and how I did. That's it. Super simple job. $10 an hour. You're looking for 5 to 10 hours a week of work. You can do it any time of the day. And you'll start right away. And then I kind of ask them to maybe send me a voice sample. Are they okay with $10 an hour? They have a quiet place to make their calls. And I had applicants. And Blue, who actually lives right next to Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts, graduated college, and he's working from home. And he's like, dude, this is great. This is for me. So I hired a very smart and capable individual to follow up with all the applicants. So what are the results? Well, let's take a look at my calendar here. So I do, let's see here. Let's take a look at last week. So my goal is to go on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My goal is to go on 8 recruiting appointments a week. So every night I just go back out to my, my patio, and I had a call here with Nathan. As you can see, his number is here, was set by Blue with all the questions. What are your financial wealth building goals? What are you doing now with regard to your goals? What do you need help with to reach your goals? What real estate experience do you have, if any? What direct sales or cold calling experience do you have, if any? What's one thing you've been fabulously successful at and why? What's one of the most challenging, painful, and fearful things if anything you overcome? Will you make 150 calls a day, 5 days a week, which is my minimum standard? And will you meet with me 1 day a week for mentorship? And Blue asked them all those questions, and he just books them in my calendar. So there were no cold calls. Everyone read the long presentation. They understood it. They applied. My assistant called, and they're all just booked in my calendar for a discovery call. Now, I get them on the discovery call, talk to them, explain to them what the deal is. And usually they go, this sounds amazing. And I say, great. I'd love to hire you, but you have to pass an audition first. An audition is you have to make 1,000 phone calls. And if you can't make 1,000 phone calls, you don't get the job. So whoever's interested, I invite them in to my weekly meeting. And I have instructions on how to start their audition and yada, yada, yada. So we kumbaya everyone once a week. And there's weekly one-on-ones, so forth from there. So I wanted to give you a little backdrop because, a lot of people will say they're interested in selling real estate, but when it comes time to actually make phone calls, they're not going to do anything. You need to prove to me you're going to make some calls before I do anything with you. If you can't make some calls, you'll never succeed, in my opinion, in the business. So they got to prove for the first they can do that. So You guys digging that so far, at least from the page, which we'll go deeper into, to the applicants, to basically an ISA, following up and scheduling recruiting appointments with you. Isn't that great? So now let's go a little bit farther up the funnel, which I left out, is how did actually people find this page in the first place? All right. Well, the way that I did it, I give them a week to make 1,000 calls, which is about 150 a day for 6 days. All right. That's the question I was asked. So you got to do 1,000 calls a week. So, and I give them a dial. It's all cold calls, just circle prospecting of unlimited numbers you can get for them to trip through to see if they'll actually just make their calls. So, the first thing I'd recommend, which I didn't do, is I would round up your entire database of all your past clients in your sphere and everyone you know. I would send them an email saying, hey, you might be out of work. COVID and a lot of industries took a hit. Real estate isn't necessarily one of those. It actually is kind of doing pretty well, to be honest with you. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a home, give me a shout. But, I'm looking to step up and train some people who are maybe in the business, want to get better, or who are not in the business, that are thinking about getting in the business, that would like it. And if that's the case, I have this apprenticeship, I have this scholarship, I have this mentorship, whatever you want to call it. Go here to check it out, read it. And if you're interested, I encourage you to apply. So that doesn't cost you any money to round up and send an email to your list back to the page. Sound good? Now, the next thing I did is I went to Craigslist. So old Craigslist, you can actually get some pretty good talent off Craigslist. Let's take a look really quick. You guys know what Craigslist looks like. I went and I posted a job in marketing, in real estate, and sales. So I think it costs, depends upon your market. I think maybe, $15 per listing, but I posted in sales, real estate, and marketing. And I had this, it would say, real estate investing mentorship, apply now or something like that. It would say that. And when you click this, I took a bunch of personal photos. I don't have the example because they took it down because it's been out for 3 days, but I went to my wife's Facebook and my Facebook, and I uploaded like 20 photos of our family and who we are as people. So people see like, this is actually like a legitimate person. Follow me? And then for the ad for this, I just copy and pasted the entire letter. That's it. So that entire letter, this entire written presentation on why in the world anyone in their right mind would actually work for you, which you have to answer, right? I just put it right on Craigslist. And that didn't cost much money. And again, it depends upon the market that you're in, but maybe $10, $15, maybe somewhere, maybe $25, depending upon like New York or LA or something. But we got considerable traffic from Craigslist. And let me just show that to you. Take a look here. Because one of the things I asked them on the form is how you heard about it. So let's take a look at the lead sources. It's actually right here. How did you hear about this? Facebook, believe it or not. That's funny. Facebook ad running, Craigslist, Facebook, ad on Facebook, Craigslist, Facebook, Facebook, Craigslist, Facebook. See that? Those are all lead sources. So a lot of good lead sources came in from Facebook. I'm sorry, Craigslist. Got it? And again, you guys can all do that. Write down, which I'll give you a model here, why in the world anyone would work for you. Or if you nail a recruiting presentation and it was good, record it and have someone write it up. That can go on the page. That's no way of doing it. But just put it up on Craigslist, driving back to your page. Then let's talk about Facebook, which is why you guys are all here, right? Facebook, exciting. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll tell you right now, you probably don't need it. You'll probably get enough leads just from Craigslist and an email to your database. But if you want to get crazy and go on Facebook, let me show you how to set up the ad. Are you guys ready? It's very simple. So I'm going to go over here to my business manager. And this is actually my ad account here at Viral Marketing. I want you to take a look at this campaign right here. All right. Now, I'll tell you right now, my pixel isn't firing exactly correct. I think it says I have 178 leads. That is incorrect. I don't know why my pixel's not firing. It's about 90. So don't get too excited, but I'll still take 90 applicants. But essentially, I spent $280. See this? $280. which I would much rather spend that money than slog out cold calls, being terribly positioned, trying to cold call an agent to work for you, let alone even answer the phone. All right. And probably the price per applicant, you could figure it out, but the 80 is probably like more like $3 or $4 per applicant. And that's how many opt-ins we got. That's overinflated. It should be more like 90. Now, who saw the ad? How do we target the ad? Okay. So down here, you're going to have to choose, first of all, that this ad is a protected category because it's about employment or real estate, and Facebook won't let you run it unless it's a special ad category, which removes a lot of your selects for targeting, but it's still fine. Facebook will still serve the ad up. So if I scroll down, I'm optimizing it for conversions. For those of you that know something about Facebook, for people to actually opt into a form, I have all that set up. But as I scroll down, I'm just targeting literally everyone 15 miles where I live in San Diego. So here's San Diego. And if your computer or cell phone is in that fence, game on. Now, I don't want to show my ad to necessarily everyone in that fence because they're probably not interested in real estate investing mentorship. However, even with the special ad categories, there's a couple selects I can throw on here. These ones right here. Creative real estate investing, real estate entrepreneur. Even if you're going after licensees of someone who's licensed, I would still throw these selects on here, which are available in a special ad category, because Facebook's going to know you're trying to reach somebody that's interested in real estate. And I can't even begin to tell you how many people apply to have a license. Honestly, probably most of them. All right. They didn't know what they were doing, or they got into selling real estate, but they want to go on the investing side, which is what the ad spoke to. Guys doing good so far? So what we're seeing here on Facebook is there's about 220,000 people that probably have some affinity toward real estate in a 15-mile radius around San Diego. So great, save that. Now let's take a look at the ad. What's the ad? Very simple ad. Here it is. Now, before I show this to you, I want to step back and I want to say this again. The fact that it's for real estate investing is irrelevant. You all understand that? We can easily change this to joining your real estate team and the value provided. So I'm going to read you the ad the real estate investment as it's written. And then I'm going to go through and reread it again if I were to change it to your real estate team. Sound good? So here we go. All right. Want to buy more rental property? Well, we live in San Diego and buy single family properties in the Midwest. We're looking for 3 understudies. You like that? I saw that. I was in Vegas, and there was this. I've always called it like an. I was trying to find the right word. I was like, it's not an intern. I guess it's a mentorship, And then I saw a Penn and Teller ad, and Penn and Teller were looking for understudies. I'm like, that's it. That's the language I wanted to use. So, anyways, I'm saying is that I'm looking for 3 understudies to teach the business. You'll meet with us weekly one-on-one at our home. We'll fund your deals. I'll give you leads. I'll provide you back office support, tell you what to do, and coach and guide you. All right. You'll get paid too. Interested in learn more? Click here. Just a picture of my wife and I, free San Diego real estate investor mentorship. A lot of action too. All right. Again, if I put an ad up, I'm looking for killers on the phone that want to pound phone calls and make $100,000 a year in real estate. Those don't work that well. All right. I would probably reposition it to more like this, in my opinion. All right. So what happens? Someone clicks the ad. All right, let's take a look at it on Facebook. How you doing here, Kristen? Good stuff. Here's the ad. People click that. They go to page. Believe it or not, they read the whole darn thing. You read this whole thing, I gotcha. My Venus flytrap. Scroll down at the bottom. Information goes in. Lead goes to assistant. $10 an hour. Part-time making calls. You ready for the script? Mr. Klezitz is so excited to see that you applied. He wanted me to call you, wish you congratulations. I'd love to schedule a time for you to speak with Mr. Klezitz. He can't wait. He's available next Monday at 8 p.m. It's after his kids go to bed, as you read. Can you make that time work? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Great. And before I get you on a phone call, Mr. Klezitz, would it be all right if I ask you some questions about maybe why you want this so we can review them and be fully briefed for your phone call together? Absolutely. and they go through and they basically are the nurse taking all the vitals of everything I want to know. So when it's in my calendar, I can be the doctor and see what's a good fit. Sound good? So those are the fundamentals. And what I'd like to do now is step back and answer some questions that you guys have, or maybe Peter, you have some ahas, or Kristen, you have some ahas from this process, from the principles. Sound good? Principles of how to do this. And then I like to shift the call more toward how do we update messaging for shifting this to a real estate team or growing your real estate business for agents. Does that sound good? So, Kristen, you're hopping on. What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, this problem that we were trying to solve is a problem I think everybody on this call is trying to solve is, there can be a lot of people come into your funnel, and then you spend all this time and effort onboarding them, and then the super majority of them don't work out because of tons of reasons that are all usually pretty similar. And so we just found that we were spending so much money on resources, and we thought, how do we actually change this? How do we change it where they're moving towards us and they want to engage, and we wanted this stickiness. And so similar to you, Frank, well, think about this. Think of everybody on the call. Does anybody know a journeyman electrician or a journeyman plumber? Emily, you got to. Jay, you guys have to know, right? So if you're a journeyman electrician and you're a journeyman plumber, if I'm going to come to work with you and you're going to teach me how to be a master journeyman, what are they going to call me?
A master craftsman.
Well, they're going to call the journeyman that, but what are they going to call the new person who wants to learn how to be a master craftsman? An apprentice. Exactly, an apprentice. And here's the thing, we wanted to change the mindset of people coming into real estate. Do you expect to get paid the same amount as an apprentice that you do if you're a master craftsman?
No.
But do you want to learn from the master craftsman, the trade? Come on, you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you want to learn the trade. You want to learn from a master. You understand you're not going to get paid as much. And so basically we're trying to set up the mindset of the person that's actually applying. Now, Peter and I had him add a couple of different cities for us to go after recently, Frank. And I said, hey, I want to be copied in on these emails for the agents that are coming, saying yes in Arizona. And Peter said to me, okay, Kristen, but I just have to tell you at some point, let me know when you want to cry uncle. And I thought, what's he talking about? He turned it on Thursday. And Peter, how long did it take for me to tell you, take me off?
Might have been Friday evening.
Oh my gosh. So because people, they understand starting as an apprentice and becoming a journeyman, a master, they understand that. They understand that they're not going to get paid that much. They understand that they're going to have to work the long hours. And so it's just a mindset. So when we talk to them about the position, gosh, do you have 3 to 6 months, saved away that you can live on while you're learning to be a master craftsman? So we bring them to workshops. And so here it's a funnel, Frank, just like you said. There's lots of people come in the funnel, and then they come to our workshop. We narrow it down again because basically we tell them, gosh, to become a master, here's what you're going to have to do. Yeah. But here's the thing, Frank, if all of us on this call, if you're looking for people for your team, let's say 50 people, let's say 80 some people answered the ad, 50 of them came to your workshop, 5 of them you hired, and those 5 each sold 1 house a month in the first 6 months. Would that be a good day, or would that be a great day?
Be a great day.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be selling 5 more houses a month. The point is that we had to come up with a way to change people's mindset about how they entered this business, so that, and like you said, so that there was a funnel such that we weren't spending all of our time on resources with people that weren't going to make it anyway. And this was a super majority of it was Peter and Luis's brainstorm around this idea. And then, we recruit to our team, and if they're not a fit for our team, then we actually give the market center an opportunity to talk with them. So it's a win for the market centers, it's a win for the teams, and it's a way for us to be efficient with our time, our resources, And we all, think of it as if there's any team leaders on this call, Jay, think of it if you could have one appointment with 50 of them at one time,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so it just helped us, Frank, come up with a system just similar to like what you're saying, using different words. But those words mean something, and creating a mindset around it so that we can be more efficient with recruiting, and also more efficient. Like when you onboard someone, market centers, it's the same way with us. When we're onboarding 15 to 20 a month gross and only X numbers stick, it's not a lot of fun. It's a whole lot more fun to take them through this process that doesn't require a lot of time, and then only bring on the ones that actually you think have the potential to make it. So it's just a different way of doing it. Peter, I don't know if you want to add anything to it. You and Luis were really the masters behind this.
No, that was it. I think what's interesting, what might be helpful for some of the people on this call, is if you talked a little bit about, you and Frank have both talked about the mentorship that you have, Frank, right? And then kind of what that involves. You fund their deals and they're expected to make 100 calls a day or 150 calls a day. And then obviously, Kristen, we have at KCN, our systems and our expectations, which is for a real estate team instead of real estate investing. I think it would be helpful if you kind of shared a little bit about what those expectations are and how KCN empowers the apprentices that do come in to succeed, because obviously it's a hard business and that is a piece of it. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, and some of them that apply aren't licensed. I think last month we had 36 who were actually licensed that applied. Is that right?
Yeah, 34.
34. Okay. So, we all know that it requires for us, you've got to be a gritty person. You have to be willing to put the work in. So, but at the same time, if they're willing to be gritty and willing to put the work in, we are also going to pour into them. So we have, you basically are going to be mentored by a journeyman. Like it's not just, oh, go learn all these scripts or go do this. It's like, no, this is the message of the moment that right now people are raising their hand and we're going to teach it to you. Or this is the 7 reasons why you should have your house on the market today. Here are the 5 shadow sellers you should be calling. It's like really specific to help them get traction quickly rather than, floundering for the first 6 months. And so, Peter, I'm not sure where you wanted me to go with that, whether it was the coaching and training that we do or.
Chris, let me ask you, what are the standards for your apprentices? When they actually start working for you, what are the minimum standards you set that you have to be doing this to maintain the program?
So at your last workshop, Peter, what were the standards that you and Luis articulated to them if they even wanted to go to another interview?
So the first standard, and this is for, I don't know with real estate investing, Frank, if you want them to be licensed or not in California, how that works. Do they need to be licensed for you?
Let me go back. I kind of took all my minimum standards from a talk Benny Kenny had. So I just ripped them all off from him initially. For real estate investing, you do not need to be licensed. So I have a little larger pool to pick from. But that doesn't matter. If they're licensed, you can still work with them. Yeah.
So that's what I bring that up only because if you are a team, that's obviously important. So that's like first thing. And we say that at the top of our ad. Now, the area that we don't do Facebook or Craigslist. We'll probably set those up after you showing us today, Frank. We've been having success with Indeed, but that's the first one.
A lot of licensees on Indeed, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good ones.
That's a limited belief that you won't find licensed agents on the job boards. You absolutely will.
And to Kristen, your point as well, that changing of the language from, we're looking for top sales professionals to this is an apprenticeship is kind of what attracts those licensees. But to get to your question, Frank, about the expectations of our agents, they are pretty simple, really. They have to be full-time. They're commission only. They need 4 to 6 months of runway. And I usually explain that to them, like, you're opening a business.
Money.
Yeah, you need
savings.
some money to cover your expenses. And then really important, and I spent a lot of time on this one during our group interviews, they have to show up to training. We have so much of it, and that's all there to make sure that they succeed. And the whole apprenticeship is basically selling that training, right? So if you have training that you offer, you sell that in the job ad. You talk about the curriculum, and here's what you're going to learn, and here's everything we talk, here's the meeting rhythm. So that's a huge expectation. And then after they're ramped up, they're expected to sell 1 home a month. Now, that's the minimum standard. Ideally, they're selling 2 to 3 homes a month, and if they're super productive on our team, they're even higher than that, 4 to 5.
Is there a call or dial standard of how many people need to speak? Is there a call or how many people need to speak to type of minimum standard at all? Or who do you get them to call, or who do they find who to call?
Not necessarily, because we don't want them just to check something off the list, Frank. We think it's really important that they are actually connecting with people. And so sometimes, and I'm not against a certain number of calls, but what I would say is that then they're just trying to get to that number rather than slowing down and connecting with people.
Yeah.
I would add that the big difference is we aren't paying them $10 an hour.
True.
So that expectation is harder to.
Yeah, they're all independent contractors.
Yeah,
Got it.
Exactly.
Cool. Well, what else do you guys want to know? I thought I can go really deep on this stuff today and spend more time, but the promise here was, recruiting with warm leads off Facebook? Huh? I want to hop on this. Well, maybe reposition your message to more of an apprentice or mentorship and sell the training that you provide. How many homes does the average agent sell, Kristen?
5 to 7.
Okay. So if you sell more than 5 to 7, you are now deemed an expert to train others, at least from a mentorship standpoint. All right. Because you're better than the average. So I think the first takeaway is stepping up and seeing yourself as a leader of other people. And then once you see yourself as a leader of other people, you decide maybe to put out some type of apprentice or mentorship program. I sent you an example of my sales letter that I use for real estate investing. I'm sure, Peter, you have one for the Kristen Cole network that you guys use, or just go on Indeed in the market. I'm sure you'll find it, right? Yeah. All right. And again, that's a craft on how to do that. That could be another lesson. But how do you actually, what's the format of how do you actually write a written sales presentation? There's a skeleton or a structure to doing that. So it's not so completely overwhelming. And then you go on Facebook, just like I showed you, special ad category, 15 miles around the area that you want. Throw in a couple of those real estate selects to drill down the audience and just put a picture of you up there smiling, saying, I'm here to help guide you. I can help you. You can earn some money and I'll teach you the business. Apply now. That's how you pull them off Facebook.
Brian, quick question. I saw a link go up regarding a 200-page workbook. Can you tell us more about what the heck is a 200-page workbook?
Well, it's a long workbook.
Yeah. Is that literally the playbook or something?
Pretty much. So I've been running viral marketing for about 11 years now. And we've helped, people get on video to help them stay in touch with their database for buyers and sellers and past clients. But there's also a small segment of clients that are like, how could we use this for recruiting? Which a lot of it was led into today. How could you start publishing educational training videos and agent success stories? How do you get that out to licensees in your market through Facebook and outbound email? How can you drive those people to workshops, which Kristen alluded to kind of give them more of help them write a full business plan versus bits and pieces they pick up online in Facebook groups. And then from there, how do you bring them on one-on-one calls? I actually teach a full long recruiting project, and that 200-page workbook is the workbook for it, and I'm giving it to you guys for free. If you want it, you can opt in for it. So I happen to know something about that stuff, so get a copy. It's a lot. It takes about 6 months to build a recruiting blog and put it all together, because the reality is we're all running full-time real estate businesses during the day, and then we want to get recruiting funnel set up, and you really have to understand a whole recruiting side of your business where it's moving. If you want a significant sum of people, because you have to have a churn rate of people that fall off. It's almost like starting a second business. So it's little bits and pieces over time how that works.
It's a craft and skill set you got to learn as well. So what you're saying, Frank, is we can either do this ourselves by following that 200-page workbook or get...
at a very high level, yeah. 100%. Yeah, take the workbook and do it all. It's all there for you. And what we covered today is one little piece of the whole thing of other strategies. Yeah. Or you can hire us if you need help, or you can hire anyone if you need help, like Kristen hired Peter.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
Kristen, we do have a question in the chat here. Terry says, this sounds too easy. I've been cold calling agents for over a year now with no real success. What would be your advice for somebody that's been spending a lot of time reaching out to people and doesn't have much to show for it?
Reframing the conversation and the mindset around it. If I said, gosh, Emily, we have a great opportunity for you to, be an apprentice and really learn from the people who become masters in our organization. As an example, Michelle's been with our organization a year, and she was she was trained by one of the best, and she was the #1 agent in our organization this year, and she's only been doing it a year. So anybody can do it, but I think it's just reframing the mindset around what it is, and people understand what an apprentice is. They know that concept. They know you're not a journeyman, you're not a master craftsman, and guess what? You're going to have to work with the master craftsman in order to get there. And so I think it allows them to see. I think a lot of commercial agents do that pretty well with junior agents versus senior agents. But I haven't seen it done very well on the residential side. And so we were honestly just brainstorming around how do we change the mindset around this such that people are moving towards us rather than us having to chase them. And what I can tell you is we're definitely refining all of this, but we are onto something with some of this, of reframing the mindset around it. And what I would say is if it's not something that you're having success with, then just hire Frank's company and let him help you. Your time might be better spent doing something else. I would not have attempted this on my own. So I think, if you're not succeeding, then go find someone like Frank or, who is succeeding and do what they do. Follow his system.
I'll add something to that, Kristen. Thank you for saying that. The concept of apprentice, journeyman, master craftsman has been around for millennia more than our current education system. So if you're looking for something more certain, go with that, because the current education system has been around since World War II and is kind of broken in some respects. So if you actually have to learn real skills, that's how they did it. All right. And the apprentice would actually go leave the fields and go live with the person making the steel, live there, work there, make the steel, learn how to make whatever it is. And then eventually they would go to the guild and say, can I actually become a master craftsman? They would apply to the guild because they controlled supply. And that's if they actually gave master craftsman license to open their own shop. So the master craftsman was their own shop. There's a modern version of that. And it's how you scale a professional firm. I'll share something with you. This is Bain. It's a global multi-billion-dollar consulting firm that Mitt Romney ran. When you start there, everyone starts as an associate consultant intern. Then you get promoted to an associate consultant, then a summer associate, then a consultant. Then it's like junior partner and senior partner. And there's a very clear career path where you come into the company. Mm-hmm. And you'll find that what Kristen was alluding to, junior partner, senior, stuff like that. That's really what we're alluding to, is you're letting somebody know you're starting kind of at the low end of the totem pole and you have to earn your way up, and we have a plan for you for promotions to probably get to the point where you're a top selling listing agent, or you're running an expansion team or something, you're an owner or whatever it may be. So I think selling that really helps. Other questions?
I
don't
do
have
have
any.
I'm sorry, from a TL perspective, I see a day where the market center is bringing value to the team leaders in the market center by attracting talent and then playing matchmaker with such talent, where they don't have the time to go through this and find. We're able to support their goals by supplying quality individuals that want to be in an apprentice role. Kristen, do you see that is that a scalable thing, or is that just wishful thinking?
Well, I think it's scalable. I think we're refining it, because at the end of the day, this whole process is to set expectations and get the right people to raise their hands, rather than onboarding all of those people that just said, yeah, and then finding out that, 90% of them were not going to work out. So it's helping us leverage this process.
I would add to that.
That's the only
great.
way you can scale
Yeah.
it. You've got to scale it with automation and with leverage.
From a marketing standpoint, we always discuss in the messaging is how open or how tight you want the faucet. So if you read what I wrote for my wife, it's a very tight faucet. Like if somebody actually applied to that, like it's like, this is what's required. This is what the pay is. And here's what you're going to do. And you're going to have this audition. And like the lead that comes in from that is very high quality if they read it. If it's an open faucet, it's like, hey, want to sell real estate and get rich quick? Apply now. Sound good? So a lot of it is the messaging of how tight you want to make that. Fair enough. And one of the things that you can always think about before you start investing expensive one-on-one time, or before you start paying for stuff for people, or you put one-on-one time on people, they start off as candidates and then they're agents. So for what I do is that someone would come in and say, you know, hey, I'm really interested in working with you, Frank. I'm like, that's great. You know, I work, but I don't know if you do. So we're going to find out. Or the system works. The question is, do you? I don't know yet. So you're going to have to go through an audition process. And you can join the group meetings during the audition process. That's fine because there's no marginal cost to me. But before you get one-on-one time with anyone here, you got to prove that you got to pass the audition. And that's when you go from being a candidate to actually being on the team. And I think maybe splitting up who are the candidates to be on your team, who are the candidates to be in your office, to have to kind of pass some type of standard to bring in. And I had that actually idea. I mean, I live in Coronado. I hear the guns going off all the time with the SEAL teams, and they have candidates before they can move into the higher training. It's more expensive. I was like, I should have a candidate program. That's what I did. So.
Yeah, and I think that where we're taking it to now too, Frank, is until you get to here, we're not spending money. Once you get to here, okay, now we're spending some money, but I agree with you. Like like all of us, we've redone our different things, but now we're really working on, and we did it a couple of years ago. However, I think it's much better now in terms of when you get to here, it opens up all these additional resources for you, similar to what Ben's doing, and yet different.
Other questions, Peter? About maybe 10 minutes left.
I don't have anything in the chat right now. So no, nothing coming through.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Okay. Do you have a different, how do you think about your messaging in regards to two different audiences? So if we're talking about the agent side of the messaging, the agent who's brand new to the business is going to be in an apprenticeship, needs that, needs the mentoring and, from square one up, versus also recruiting towards the talent demographic of established agents who know the business and are ready for a better and a different opportunity. How do you take that message so that it's received well to both demographics?
For us, it's a different message. I mean, Peter, I don't know if you want to speak to the small groups that we're looking to set appointments with.
Yeah, so we have a strategic partnership with a consulting company, Growthward Consulting, that Kristen is co-founder of. And we use that as our front end brand to attract producers to what seems to be like a business growth seminar, if you want to give it like a generic name. And then we are able to then reach out to those people after they come to that seminar, whatever the topic of that seminar is. I don't know if you guys have anything.
Sometimes what they end up doing, Emily, they just figure out, given their issues, whatever it is they're trying to solve, whatever problem they're trying to solve, sometimes it's easier for them to just join us and go do what they do best. And sometimes we end up just being a consultant to them and helping them, see into their business of what they could change to make them better. And to us, it's a win-win either way.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So Frank, basically the funnel that you're talking about when you write out your entire recruiting presentation, so to speak, is more geared towards the brand new person. Would that be a fair assumption?
Close. Let me reframe this a little bit, so I'll answer
Okay.
the question from maybe a little different marketing standpoint. Is what I showed you is the bottom of the funnel. So there's a funnel. All right. What I showed you is, let's start with the main primary offer to come work for me. And let's write that and put it on a page. And let's just get the low-hanging fruit off Facebook and Craigslist, which is probably going to be your lower producers. I think we can all agree, right? Now, how do we get the more experienced people to come on board? Well, now you need to probably start teaching seminars, which is the next step up the funnel. You have to start training and teaching and holding masterminds, if you will, or seminars or events that Kristen and Peter put on quite often. But then again, how do you get people to them? Well, no one knows who you are, really. You're like an existing agent. So what you have to start doing is flying around the country. Kristen, how many miles have you put on planes?
A lot, over 200,000 a year.
Flying around the country and speaking, so people get to see you, or publishing lots of videos on social media, or publishing content online. So let me answer the question. The top of the funnel to get the top agents is we have to get a list of all the licensees through broker metrics, trend graphics, showing time, maybe your title company. And we need a list of all the licensees, ideally by production, email, mailing list. And then we also need to somehow reach those people on Facebook. So with email, direct mail, Facebook, we can get to them. We have to start sending them little items of value that actually help them to position you as someone useful in their lives and to get on their radar of something they can learn from. Got it? But from there, next step down the funnel is we have to bring them to probably some more events, because those little bits and pieces are very confusing. I like to call those our ornaments. And you need to provide people the Christmas tree to hang them on to make sense of it all. The Christmas tree is your events, your business planning workshops, where you invite people to come. And then from there, you bring them to one-on-one meetings. After the one-on-one meeting, depending upon their needs, you present to them a buffet of offers. The buffet of offers would be, I have a mentorship, but you already do like 35 deals a year. Maybe you don't really need that. I can just bring you on as a listing agent right now because you like the team and you like me, and we just get you going. Or I have a coaching program. Maybe you want to stay where you're at. You just pay me. You kind of give that's kind of like your back end of what you provide to someone after the meeting to fit their needs. That help?
Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Frank, I don't know if you see it, but there's another question here in the chat. Penelope from Neil team here in San Diego says, they are in the process of setting up their blog with Viral, and they're wondering if they can use that as the landing page funnel for the Facebook ad. Or
100%. Yeah. So on the blog that we built, let me give you an example here. Here's one of many examples. So you're probably thinking, like, what does this recruiting blog look like? So you have some type of website where the mission is to educate real estate agents on how to sell more homes. And you're on there and you're publishing videos. You have your sales letter to join your team. You can learn more about your brokerage. People can come to your workshops. They can sign up for your newsletter. But you guys have probably never met Katie, but if you're in her market and she starts sending you this stuff, you're like, wow, I really like this person. You watch your videos and you're comfortable with her, right? So this is her sales letter. This is, well, link doesn't work. Someone decided to go to Wise Hire and not tell us, apparently. But that is supposed to work right there where it goes to join our team message. Sound good? So what your landing page is just a page on your website. So think of like all this content as like out there as these little hooks, bringing back people to join your team, learn more about you, come to your workshops, or subscribe to your newsletter. Those are the call to actions on the right. It's the same thing you're going to find with everyone. Let me just give you someone that you guys can probably all relate to at a high level. Here's Tom Ferry. Let me show you how Tom Ferry recruits. You ready? He makes a lot of videos. He puts them on YouTube because people are going on YouTube because they're not getting it from the broker. That's why. And he also speaks on other people's stages. As you get to know him, you get to know him for free on YouTube. You go, well, I kind of like this guy's energy. I like what he's all about, but I'm still confused because all these ornaments, there's no Christmas tree. So I want to come to one of my events. So now you come to a long form event and you really start putting it all together where you start making sense of a pure business plan. From the event, you're like, man, this guy is very congruent. This makes a lot of sense. This makes more sense. Maybe I should go to a one-on-one meeting. Get a one-on-one meeting. Hey, what do you want to do? Well, here are my needs. Here's what I want. And you say, well, we got some options for you. So for example, he has coaching programs. I got a couple options for you now at this point. I mean, you can join my team, you can join my brokerage, you can buy my coaching. You kind of put a buffet of offers in front of them if you wanted to at that point. It's the same funnel, what you're going to see here. Essentially what I showed you today is writing one of your offer pages for one of your bottom of the funnel offers here. But as you want to get more experienced agents, you start holding events, you start publishing, you start speaking. And they see you as a guide. Is that helpful?
Yes.
3 minutes left. What else?
Hey, Frank and Kristen, my name is Jeff Khalil. I'm out of St. Louis.
Hey, Jeff.
Thanks for the presentation tonight. So I'm here because I'm a commercial real estate agent with our broker with KW Commercial.
Great.
And I'm also a business broker, and I'm wanting to grow my team. I want to translate this training because one thing I've found is that on the KW Commercial side, our training is not all that great. On the Keller Williams residential side, I think the training is awesome. So I really try to bridge it and translate it into what I do. But I'm struggling a little bit because the kind of talent that I'm looking for, maybe it's a mindset. So that's why I'm asking the question here is that I've tried to recruit commercial real estate brokers and business brokers from Facebook and had horrible results. Is there something that you can think of as maybe a 10-second tip of advice on how to approach it? Because I don't know if the Be My Apprentice, maybe that would work. I don't know. I just wanted to pose my general challenge to you and see if you had maybe a tip for me.
Frank, I'm going to defer to you.
Yeah.
Better at that than I am.
There's a lot of ways I can approach this question. It's an excellent question. I would have to go back to your offer page. I would have to go back to like, dear person that just found this on Facebook, you're here because you're interested in a job in commercial real estate. That's a terrible idea. Let me tell you why. Got it?
Yeah.
Can you give me some reasons, top 3? What are the top 3 reasons that's a terrible idea?
Yeah, the first one is because you're not going to make all the money overnight like you think you're going to make. It's not get rich quick.
Right, keep going.
The other terrible idea is that you don't know what you don't know when it comes to dealing with commercial clients. Mm-hmm. And then third, there's something that's third, right?
You see where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
In fact, this is a really hard thing to do. Most people that are in maybe the kind of the volume-based residential model try to come over here and just flounder, right? And I've found that the people that are most successful in this type of role generally don't like this but enjoy this, or generally don't like this but enjoy this. And if that's you, read on. Let me tell you why I got into the business. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Let me tell you my day.
It's the same angle. I just got to find those word choices to get my hook in. Yeah.
Yeah. What you're getting into is how do you write a good persuasive letter that speaks to someone that kind of that weeds out the weak and speaks to the people that this type of job is just for me. I would look at the message that you have on your Join Me training, because what's going to happen if it, one of the things I'll share with you is that in order to attract maximally, you have to repel maximally. Look at all the political pundits. They're niching themselves out. They're wide in the spectrums because the audience is more dedicated. It's the same thing with you. That's why I led with your letter. Here's why this is not going to work. You start weeding people out because the people that resonate, that will be more attracted to you. And then you speak to those person, the message, and that's how you get the lead. I would look at the primary message. That's probably where I would start.
Thank you.
And again, it's not Facebook. You can take the same message put on Facebook. The same message is emailed to your database. The same message goes on Indeed. Same message goes on Craigslist, and all goes back to the message.
And Jeff, Peter, do you remember that ad we ran, I don't know, a couple of months ago? And remember, I thought the one ad was super, super awesome. And the other ad, I'm like, that's a terrible ad. The one that I thought was super, super awesome, not one lead, 0, zippo. And the one that I thought was terrible and like, who is going to respond to that? That's the dumbest thing on the planet. It was off the chart.
It's great.
It made it was like, you got to be kidding me. So,
Jeff, is that you and your question about the who asked the question about commercial?
Jeff.
Jeff, thank you. Yeah.
Jeff, I got a book for you.
Okay.
Go read this book. When you start in sales, you're taught questions-based selling. You know, Jeff, you're interested in buying a home, aren't you? Say yes.
Yes.
And you want to hire the best agent to get your home to get the best deal. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I
Right?
do.
You know, and when I come on the appointment, you'll sign the contract if the terms and price make sense, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, if it makes sense. But yeah, I'm excited to learn more.
Yeah. So you start learning like questions-based selling. And if you go back old school and you go to Mike Ferry's website, you know, and you download the scripts, they're very questions-based, right? Because you're getting all of the feedback from the person in real time, and you can adjust your messaging in real time because you're sitting face to face with somebody. Now, as you start moving on to the phone, there's less feedback. As you start moving on to speaking, there's less feedback. When you start moving into webinars, there's no feedback, very little. When you start moving into writing, zero feedback. So you have to switch your salesmanship from a questions-based kind of adapting yourself to the movement and having a conversation to like having to lay it all out in writing, which is when you start getting into like writing sales at scale. That shift of copywriting, or what I would call salesmanship in print, this book will help you understand how to do that well and make that shift from being one-to-one sales to writing for sales. Sound good?
Yeah. Yeah. I used to be the, I used to do the house flipping side of this. I was one of the gurus out of Waco, Texas, back in
I buy there.
Yeah. And it happened to me though, very organically. You know, mine started out really small, but I started to bring in these kind of techniques into that, and it worked well. I grew the club to about 50 members at its height, and they came everywhere from Houston and Killeen down there by Fort Hood and Dallas all the way to Waco to attend the seminars. And so I'm trying to rethink that and see if there's a way to retool those ideas here for what I'm doing now today. But I just got to be outside the box to translate, you know.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the feedback. It was good. Thank you.
I think we should wrap up, Peter.
Yep. Really quickly, there's one more question here. I'm interested if you guys are willing, Kristen and Frank, do you have 5
Sure.
minutes?
I do. Yes.
Kristen? Yeah. So Terry asks, do you find that more experienced agents are not willing to follow up your processes and standards and want to continue doing what they've been doing previously? And how do you handle this? And I know we have some people like KCN and Frank. I'm interested if you have anything just as a last question here. What do you think?
That's an answer for you,
You
Kristen.
know, well, we do. We have some people in KCN, and what I'd say is the pain has to get great enough. It really does. We have a couple of guys right now in our organization. One of them's been in the business as long as I have, and like the last 8 years, he's just been in this weird funk, and just for whatever reason was not succeeding like he used to. And so all I'd say is that there are people like him. There's a couple of them in our organization right now that were not having the success that they knew they could have on their own, but are succeeding like unbelievably right now. And the difference, I think, is that they were ready to change. They were ready. The pain was great enough. They were so sick and tired of being sick and tired that they were actually willing to, you know, swallow hard and you know, let some of their ego go away and let us help them. But if they're not ready, there's no amount of messaging, prodding that's going to help. What I do think helps is, you know, there right now there is a segment of the population that really wants to be involved with people who are committed to you know, to something bigger than themselves. And that's always been around, but I think right now, especially, you know, their tribe, their community, if you will. And so that if you just go out and be authentically who you are, you're going to attract people who are like you. You're going to attract people who want to be part of that. You're going to attract people. And it's all about just, you know, having conversations with them. But if somebody, you know, wants to keep doing it their own way and they aren't succeeding, you know, you're not going to be able to help them till they're ready to go. Okay, uncle. And sometimes, guys, you're having a conversation with them. They're not ready yet, but 6 months from now they are, or a year from now they are. So to us, it's a long game, really. And it's so much fun when they start winning. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Frank, on behalf of everyone, I'm sure.
Frank, you're awesome. That was awesome.
Thanks. Let's
So-
get a Facebook ad set up for you.
So that's all we have for today. For those of you that are interested, I will be sending the recording so you can watch this again, because I know we went through some stuff fast. In that email, you'll also find the link to Frank's recruiting workbook and some other helpful stuff about how to get in touch with KCN if you guys have further questions. That's all for today. So thanks for being here and have a wonderful Tuesday evening.